Hello, my name is María Angélica Larraín Bart, and I work at Universidad de Chile, where I belong to the Food Quality Research Center. Today, I welcome you to the HACCP System Unit. HACCP is an internationally recognized preventive system for assuring food safety. The most basic concept underlying HACCP is that of prevention. The HACCP analysis is a science-based and systematic process to identify possible dangers to health. Critical control point is a point, step, or procedure at which control can be applied and the food safety hazard can be prevented, eliminated, or reduced to acceptable level. HACCP is designed for use in the entire food industry, from growing, processing, manufacturing, distributing, and retailing food for consumption. HACCP is important in order to prevent foodborne illness, but also to reduce recalls and help companies save money. The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimate that 48 million people get sick to one or another of 31 pathogens. About 128,000 people end up in the hospital, while 3,000 die annually. Between 1998 and 2008, 7,757 foodborne outbreaks were tracked, affecting 1 in 6 Americans every year. A 2014 estimation of the United States Department of Agriculture placed the direct and indirect cost associated with illness caused by major foodborne pathogens at $15.6 billion per year in this country. In 2012, the Grocery Manufacturers Association, GMA, and the Food Marketing Institute estimate that the average cost for a food recall in the US was $10 million. Presently, the FDA gets involved in about 700 food-related recalls per year. HACCP was developed in the latest 1950s by the Pillsbury Company, the Natick Research Laboratories, and NASA. They built a quality system to ensure food safety for the space program. In 1974, FDA incorporated HACCP in the regulation due to outbreaks of the Clostridium botulinum in canned foods. In 1993, the Codex Alimentarius Commission provided the first international definition for HACCP, and in 2005, ISO 22000 was developed with a major contribution to food safety management system. HACCP has become a global standard for food safety. A HACCP system requires that the potential hazards are identified and controlled at specific points in the process. This includes biological, chemical, or physical hazards. Any company can use HACCP to reduce or eliminate food safety hazard in their products. HACCP is based on 7 principles. Principle 1. Conduct a hazard analysis. The application of this principle involves listing the steps in this process and identifying where significant hazards are likely to occur. Principle 2. Identify the critical control points. A critical control point, CCP, is a point, step, or procedure at which control can be applied and a food safety hazard can be prevented, eliminated, or reduced to acceptable levels. Principle 3. Establish critical limits. A critical limit, CL, is the maximum and or minimum value to which a biological, chemical, or physical parameter must be controlled at a CCP to prevent eliminate or reduce to an acceptable level the occurrence of a food safety hazard. Principle 4. Monitor CCP. The HACCP team will describe monitoring procedures for the measurement of the critical limits at each critical control point. Principle 5. Establish corrective actions. Corrective actions are the procedures that are followed when the deviation in a critical limit occurs. Also, an investigation must be conducted to determine what caused the deviation and how to prevent recurrence. Principle 6. Verifications. Those activities other than monitoring that determine the validity of the HACCP plan and that the system is operating according to the plan. Principle 7. Documentation. A key component of the HACCP plan is recording information that can be used to prove that the food was produced safely. The HACCP system must be built upon a solid foundation of prerequisite programs, such as good manufacturing practices, GMPs, and standard operating procedures. They provide the basic environmental and operating conditions that are necessary for the production of safe, awesome food. These are some examples of GMPs and SOPs. All prerequisite programs should be documented and regularly audited. The development of a HACCP plan is a logical step-by-step process. The 5 preliminary tasks need to be accomplished before the application of the HACCP principles to a specific product and process are: Step 1. Assemble the HACCP team and identify the scope. A multidisciplinary team with individuals from areas such as engineering, production, sanitation, quality assurance, and food microbiology who have working knowledge of the various processing steps and operations in the facility would be responsible of the HACCP plan. The HACCP team should also identify the scope of the HACCP plan, describing which products and processes are covered. Step 2. Describe the product, including, among others, the ingredients, physical, chemical characteristics, processing methods, technologies, packaging, shelf life, storage conditions, and methods of distribution. Step 3. Identify intended use and users. Describe the intended use given by the food business operator and include the expected use of the product by other food business operators or the consumer. Consider vulnerable groups of population. Step 4. Construct a process flow diagram. The HACCP team will draw a flow diagram that shows all the steps in the production process from receiving through shipping. Step 5. Verify the process flow diagram. The HACCP team can do this by having an impartial person do a walk throughout the entire production process, checking to see if anything missing from the diagram. The HACCP team can do this by having an impartial person do a walk throughout the entire production process, checking to see if is anything missing from the diagram. Here are listed together the 12 steps to implement the HACCP system, starting with the 5 previous activities before applying the 7 HACCP principles. More details you can find in the 2020 revision of the Codex Alimentarius text, General Principle of Food Hygiene. Thanks for your attention.